Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of All in All with Alex. I'm your host, of course, Alex, and today we have a very special guest. We got the one, the only Nurse Blue. How you doing today?
Wonderful. I am wonderful, and thank you so much for having me on your show, having me on your podcast.
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem. I'm glad we was able to finally get everything situated and get you on today. So, can you give the people a quick background about yourself before we dive into the question?
Absolutely. Nurse Blue is, I'm just here to live up to my name, and Blue stands for what I do is I build people, love them, I unite us, and I empower us about soul health. And so that's my area. I focus on what's going on in the soul because that's where I believe 99% of our problems, that's where the solution is. The solution is in the soul. And I pretty much help women and men, those who are willing to learn from Nurse Blue, women that lead businesses, households, communities, in some cases, countries, women who may be suffering from chronic stress because that's our number one killer. And I help them defeat chronic stress, not manage it, not cope with a killer, but get rid of it to prevent chronic disease so that, truly we can reverse or prevent disease and most importantly, just live our best lives. So that's what I'm all about.
All right. So the questions that I had pulled up, it's like they just disappeared. But in the meantime, can you tell us, what got you into doing what you're doing now?
Absolutely. So as a nurse, and I am a registered nurse for the state of Florida, I'm also a sound healer. And what I realized throughout my career, which didn't start out, interestingly enough, in nursing, it actually started out working for my father's radio station in Chicago. I was serving the community, the Chicagoland community at that time. And as I was working to serve my family through the business and helping to serve my clients, I was diagnosed with a chronic disease. And being diagnosed with that disease, I realized all that I had learned from my nursing program did not prepare me to, resolve this issue. And after being diagnosed with psoriasis, which is a skin disorder, I was given two options, Alex, as most people are, when you have an autoimmune deficiency. Number one, you can take this medication for the rest of your life, which literally felt like a life sentence to me because I didn't want to be on medication. And I had not even, being trained in nursing and all of that, no one in my personal life had ever gotten better as a result of taking medication long term. Like the signs and symptoms may have decreased, but long term, there was some other issues that come up. So I wanted to avoid that. And the other issue was either don't be on medication, but because it was a skin problem, I could turn into a reptile because those are my two issues. Those are my two options, right? And so I decided that I wanted to start looking into some more natural ways to resolve my issues. And so I realized over time that soul health was what I was missing. And there was also what I had not been introduced to through the traditional medicine here in this country. So I went outside of the box and started learning about, things that trigger autoimmune deficiencies, chronic stress being that one. And we hear a lot about stress, but people don't really understand how stress truly takes over the soul and how it truly not only takes over the soul but how it can result in disease. And so throughout my throughout my career, I've been looking for health and wellness modalities that help keep me in a state of balance in my body. 30 years later, here I am. And so it just kind of, and one of the things I love growing up, I was a music fan. My dad, as I mentioned before, I worked for my family's radio station. His background was in music. And he was famous for naming Aretha Franklin the Queen of Soul. And
Okay.
so because he had built a wonderful business and career around serving people through media, through entertainment, through music, I already knew the benefits of high vibrational music and how good it is for the soul. And so I've just kind of took a little bit of what I have been, well, a lot of what I've been taught by my dad and growing up in Chicago, my nursing training, and then going off to become a health and wellness coach and someone who really fell in love with healing. I brought it all together and Nurse Blue was born. So that's how it all came together.
Okay. Okay. So so all right. So let's focus on the journey to soul health, right? So what is soul health and how does it differ from traditional health approaches?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Soul health is really the truth of who it's really like the core of where healing takes place. So I always start out with reminding people, even though many people have been taught this, a lot of people still don't really understand what this means, that we are spiritual beings because we've been taught we've been human beings our entire lives, right? So we are spiritual beings that are that's having a human experience, right? And so when we start there understanding what it is to be a spiritual being, then that will lead into what soul health is all about. So as a spiritual being, we're made of energy. So I always tell people that this human body is pretty much a beautiful form of transportation that we're using to walk planet Earth, right? So we're made of energy and there's rules to energy. It can't be created, neither can it be destroyed, but it can be transformed, it can be transmuted, it can be transferred, right? And so because we are beautifully and magnificently made, we also have a soul, and that soul is made of three parts. So I like to teach the anatomy of the soul and the physiology of the soul, meaning the components of it and how it works, right? So those three parts are made of your subconscious mind, it's made of your emotional body, and it's made of your will. And when all three parts of that soul are in alignment, then great, you're living your best life. But oftentimes they're not in alignment. And when the soul is in a state of dis-ease, then there will be dis-ease in your life, dysfunction in your life. Sometimes that shows up as dysfunction in the body, right? So cancer, as I it's medical research to prove that cancer's in the body sometimes 7 years before it shows up on diagnostic tests. The number one killer in our country and probably globally is heart disease. Well, heart disease doesn't start in the body, it starts in the soul. you know and a lot of the issues that we see in our life, whether it's a health issue or whether it has manifest as a life issue, is because we have not been taught how to bring balance to the soul. And chronic stress is our number one killer because chronic stress brings dis-ease to the soul. So we've learned how to cope and manage our number one killer. And what I share with people is how to defeat chronic stress by aligning your thoughts, your emotions, and your habits with a life that serves you as opposed to a life that you're struggling to live. I can't hear you, Alex. I think,
Sorry about
okay.
that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Nah, you're fine. So with that, like, how do you hold on? What was the question? Oh, here it is. So how do you discover the link between chronic stress and joy deficiency?
Okay, so when you have, and that's a great question. So I always tell people that we have an internal medicine cabinet, right? And if we knew how to activate the powers that are within us, the innate powers that's within us, then we wouldn't probably have as many issues in our health as we do. So joy is a medicine. That's what people don't understand. That's why, if we had more joy, if people were living with more joy, I guarantee you our world would look so much different. And I didn't say it was a medicine. It's like in the Bible. Proverbs 17:22 says, a joyful heart is good medicine, right? Joy is medicine to the so and when I think about joy is medicine to the heart is really joy is medicine for the soul, right? So the reason that joy is so powerful because it elevates our frequencies. And as it elevates our frequencies, what I mean by that is I mean, just think about it. It brings inspiration. You just feel better. You know what I mean? So when you feel better, naturally your cells feel better of your body, naturally your attitude is better. You're attracting more more goodness into your life. You are attracting more of what you want in your life because we are made of energy. And so everything we say, everything we think, everything we do has a vibration. And joy is a high vibrational frequency. So I always tell people that if you really want to know what freedom is an inside job. And joy is the transportation that will lead you there. Now, the same thing. The opposite of joy, well, Frankie Beverly and May say is pain, like the song. But if you think about it, if you're depressed, if you're not feeling good about life, if you're feeling powerless, if you're feeling hopeless, I mean, chances are you're probably going to be feeling stress. That stress is going to lead maybe to some migraine headaches. It could lead to some increase in blood pressure. It could lead to some habits to help you cope with that stress. And those habits are typically bad habits. A lot of times with people, and when you have joy, you're not thinking about, doing something to hurt yourself. When you have joy, usually people who are living in a really healthy space of joy, they have internal peace inside. So if you have depression, if you are living in fear, if you're living in anger, if you're living in pain, if you're going through a tough time right now, that means that your frequencies, your vibrational frequencies are low. And in that state, you're more likely to attract something into your life, whether it's a dysfunction or whether it's something that is a sign and symptom of a disease process. Usually it happens in that state. That's why joy is a medicine. Because when you have joy in your life, you defeat chronic stress. Does that
That's
make
right.
sense?
Yeah, 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 for sure. So, speaking of the joy in healing, can you describe the moment when you, in your life, when you realized the power of joy?
Oof, I've been through some battles to become a soul health and wellness coach. And I'll just tell you this. I found my deepest joy. And this is a person who grew up coming from a privileged background, someone who came from a family that was well respected in the community. And we had everything on the outside, but I didn't have joy on the inside, right? So I'll tell you, I found joy when I was able to release all of the pain and trauma that I was holding on to throughout my life that I didn't even know how to process and release until I was introduced to soul health and soul health tools. I was able to process that pain, and I was actually process it to such a degree that now I'm happy. I'm so thankful that I've gone through it. And as you release and you process and you understand the power of when you release, you increase. Joy was the gift. Joy was my gift. So what does joy look like for me in my own life? First of all, joy for me is being able to have peace no matter what's happening in my world. I have peace with everything that is happening around me and what's happening in the world because I understand why it's happening, right? And I have joy being able to be a solution, a wellness solution, or offer a wellness solution for people who are struggling with their health. 98% of diseases on planet Earth are preventable. 98% of chronic diseases are preventable. And so I found joy in knowing that I could offer people a solution to what they may be going through as a way to help them leverage it and elevate their life, elevate their energy, elevate their health, their confidence, their relationships, their abundance. Joy can deliver that. And so once I found what joy truly was, I was like, oh, this is freedom. This is the freedom that we really think we can have, we're looking for on the outside of us, but this is what's missing. And the power, Alex, of joy is so incredible because when you have it, fear can't come near you. And that's what people are suffering from. People are truly suffering from the spirit of fear in all of its ways in which it manifests in our life. You know, what if we're judging somebody, that's an aspect of fear, believe it or not, because I've studied this stuff. Shame, fear, frustration sometimes rooted in fear, hopelessness rooted in fear, pride sometimes rooted in fear. So when you understand what the root of the problem is, and then you use joy as your prescription, man, you have an entire new life, an entirely new life. So that's why I'm out here sharing the word that your freedom frequency is called joy.
That's good. So what are the key steps in your 5-step wellness formula for finding?
So I call it the belly acronym. Like your joy is really in the heart of your belly. So, yes, because really joy is an internal, it's an internal supplement. It's nutrition that's inside of you, right? So let's break it down. Let's start with the B. In order for you to have joy, you have to know what to balance. Not just have balance, but what needs to be balanced. And because you don't know that, most people don't realize or have not been taught that we are spiritual beings. It's not about balancing the spirit, it's about balancing the energy. Well, it is about balancing the spirit. I'm sorry. It's about balancing the energy and the spirit more so than the body. One comes before the other. So learning how to balance a system that we have not been taught, but it's called a chakra system. And here's the bottom line, that's our energy system. Now, in the African American community, many churches, many religious organizations have taught people that the chakra system is a system of witchcraft, which I can understand how they could come up with that, but that's not the truth. And so in the Bible, where it says, my people will perish for lack of knowledge, this is the kind of knowledge that we're talking about. Just like we have a circulatory system, just like we have a digestive system, a respiratory, it is a system. It's our energy system. So we need to know how to balance those chakras in our body and also balance another system that many people don't know about. It's called the endocannabinoid system, which is probably the most important system in your body because it modulates all of the other systems. Well, here in the United States, they don't teach us about these systems in our medical schools or in our nursing schools, but they've been knowing about it for over 30 years. So we need to learn how to balance that, right? So that's what I teach. We have to eliminate the source. In order for you to have joy, joy is like a high class woman. She does not step in surroundings that do not honor her. Okay. So if you got a bad attitude, joy is not coming near you. If you hold in fear, you can't have joy. If you judging people or jealous of people, you can't have joy with that. So you have to eliminate the source of where that is your problem. Where is that rooted? So in order for you to have joy, you got to clean up your act. You got to clean up the inside. And oftentimes what's happening is we've been programmed to be self-destructive. Really. We've been programmed through lies and ignorance. Most people don't even realize that much of what we've been taught is not the truth, right? So joy forces us to deal with our truth in order for her to come and live in our life, right? And eliminating the soul toxins that we carry. We carry soul toxins. And people don't realize that the thoughts we have about ourselves, the thoughts we have about our world, the way we relate to each other, we react, a lot that's programming. And coming out of a radio background, I know a lot about programming. Okay, so we got to eliminate the soul toxins. The next thing we have to do, we have to learn how to listen to our bodies, Alex. So for many of us, we shut down our feelings. We've been taught to shut down our feelings. We've been taught to ignore our feelings. The reason why you have feelings is so that you can know what's going on inside of you and around them. Now, you definitely need to know how to manage your feelings, but listening to your body means you're becoming emotionally intelligent. And that is something that a lot of us, particularly people of color, we've been taught to ignore our feelings. I was talking to my 80-year-old aunt a few weeks ago who was having some hip pain, right? And so she was, telling me what was going on. And she was like, you know what? I feel it, but I got to keep going. I got to keep going no matter what. And and I get that. I understand that. But there's a time where you can't ignore what your body is trying to tell you, because your body is telling you that so that you can come up with a wellness solution, so that it letting you know this something here is wrong and it needs to be healed, right? But when you shut down your feelings, a lot of times we shut down our feelings to deal with chronic stress. So we know stress is keeping us up at night. We know we're not feeling like, are feeling ourselves, but we ignore it. And then we look up, we're being diagnosed with something that could have been prevented, right? The other L is we got to be willing to learn something new. If what's working for you inside the box, if it's not working for you, doing things inside the box, that means you have to go outside of the box. We upgrade everything around us. We upgrade our phones, we upgrade our closets, we upgrade our cars, we upgrade all kinds of things. But you got to upgrade your wellness strategy. We are living in different times. In 2025, look, we just came out of a pandemic not too long ago that changed the world on its own. And there's a lot of different threats of other illnesses and different things that's coming out here. We have to upgrade our wellness strategy. And upgrading our wellness strategy means we have to unlearn some things that does not apply to us today. Okay. There were some things that, we could eat years ago and it did not cause the harm that it causes today because the food is different. So we have to be willing to become something new, and you can't be old and new at the same time. So that means you got to learn something different, right? And then why? You got to say yes to life. People don't understand that one of the biggest habits that we have is thinking against ourselves and speaking against ourselves and each other. Your number one creation tool for your health is your tongue. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. What are you saying? What are you speaking to yourself, to your partner, to your children? Because all of this has a vibrational frequency that can either build, it can destroy. And people don't realize that we don't take our words as seriously as they should be taken. We're not taking responsibility for our health. So learning how to speak life, learning some new habits is saying yes to life, learning about foods that could benefit you, and yes to detoxification, because we're constantly putting things in this system. But guess what? A lot of the things that we're taking in right now, in our world, a lot of things that we're doing is toxic to the body. When are we taking the times? I'm actually on a soul renewal detox right now. We have to be willing to say yes to life by doing things that feed life, doing things that contribute to life. And you look up and you're like, oh my God, I love my life right now. And you did not have to go outside of yourself necessarily to do that. You just, I fine tune the software system of your body, and you can create the reality that you really want. And I truly believe that. I'm a living witness to that. And that's what I help my clients do through soul health and wellness.
Okay. Um. So, what advice do you have for someone struggling to maintain a balanced lifestyle?
Well, the first thing the first thing I would like to tell you is that soul health is the solution. Okay. And in order for you to really master balancing your life, I would strongly encourage people to, step outside of what you're currently doing. You may want to start with, doing some research online, how about giving Nurse Blue a call to support you? No, but you may want to start online on YouTube. YouTube is a really great place for people to go and learn about, some natural modalities or what have you. But soul health is where you go. And then secondly, be willing to invest in the knowledge you don't know. See, when you value your health, you're willing to put that first, because Your soul helps you create everything else that you want to create, right? So you want to get to a point where you value life enough to invest in yourself. So that's the first thing, reprioritizing. Second thing I would encourage people to do, I actually created a free community called the Soul Health and Wellness Club. It's an online community where people can actually come and be a part of learning, what soul health is all about. I have online courses there. I have people um, throughout the United States and different parts of the world actually who are members. We're a small community, but we're growing. And when my late father, when he passed, I actually created this community in his honor because it was an extension of what I learned, which was to support, the evolution of people's lives. So Soul Health and Wellness Club is definitely a resource, and they can go to Soul Health Community com and learn more about that. And whether it's me or someone else, I would strongly encourage everybody who I know that is doing anything that's, successful has a coach of some kind. Yeah. If you weren't raised in an environment, like if all this information is new to you and you never heard any of this, I have a book called Freedom is a Frequency. It's a joy journal. So I introduce people to the process of learning, excuse me, how to balance your body, your life with joy. And, I also encourage people, to start becoming open to growing into what it is to be a spiritual being. You know what it's like to be a human being. We've mastered how to be fearful. We got PhDs in fear. Let's go and get a PhD in joy. You know what I mean? Let's go get a PhD in learning who we are as a spiritual being. Because once you step into the understanding that, you know, you are an unlimited source of power. We use less than 5% of our brains. So if you're listening to me right now, this is an opportunity for you to really be willing to find out, who are you and what you're made of, and how does all this work, so that you can empower yourself to change your reality, because it can happen. And this is the time to do it. So I hope I answered your question. Embrace soul health, check out the community, be willing to learn about operating as a spiritual being and what natural health and holistic modalities are all about. And here's another thing. You have to have faith.
Oh yeah.
This is a faith walk. This is a belief walk. Anything you want to do, you got to come from a space of, no matter how dark it is, because I've been through some really dark times. I'm going to tell you something that, someone shared with me many years ago. Just get to the next few hours, the next day. If you're having a rough day right now, honey, you got about another, what time is it? 5:36. You got another few hours, you in another day. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And be willing to take a chance on yourself and on life to reverse it and change it around. So that's my advice.
Okay. Okay. So, can you share a story of transformation from one of your clients?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I have quite a few.
Well, what's the
You want a kid story or what?
well? How about this? Let's do the first one that comes to mind when you think of an impactful story, like the first one that
Yeah,
just comes to your mind.
absolutely. So this is a story that comes to mind. I work with special needs kids as well, kids that have disabilities like cerebral palsy. And I was working with one of my clients when I first started. My client had, kind of serious behavior issues and was 8 years old and was verbal, but more so combative. Um, Also was having a hard time eating food by mouth and doing and functioning at the level that he could be because of this condition. And so I integrated blue soul music Blue soul, I have my own genre, by the way, Alex. Blue
Okay.
soul music. It's a music that builds, loves, unite, and empowers the soul. It's a healing music. So I integrated bachata music and blue soul music. He loves bachata music, which is a music that is native to his family's country, the Dominican Republic. And just by, elevating the joy in his life, increase in joy through music, joy through, the various modalities that I did in my nursing services. I'll just tell you. And in a year's time, this gentleman has behavior has improved so much. He got student of the year award. He's eating by mouth. He is progressing so much because he's currently in his wheelchair, but he is progressing so much that I truly believe he's going to be walking. But just his overall health and well-being improved so much. I mean, we have when I see him, I just light up. I'm lighting up right now just talking about him. But I would say that being able to see a child who have gone from a stage where his doctor literally told his mother at birth that he wouldn't make it to age 5 to now seeing, I mean, he wouldn't make it. I'm sorry. He would not make it to age 5. I'm sorry. That he wouldn't be, they didn't know if he would be alive in 5 days. That's what I meant to say. To now being a child that just turned 10, who is doing absolutely so well in spite of having cerebral palsy and who lives in a state of joy, and through his state of joy, his love for music, the love that he receives from his family and the other team that I've worked with along with his care, it's remarkable what he does, not only for himself, but his family and his anyone who comes into his orbit. He's just a joyous child. And so joy can be transferred when we deposit that in each other. It becomes a superpower that becomes something that is healing for everyone around you. So that's one of my favorite success stories. And then, of course, I've helped reverse hypertension, high blood pressure. I've helped to lower cholesterol. I've helped people shed 30 and 40 pounds and keep it off. I've certainly have helped people to regain their self-confidence and attract, more energy into their life, reverse their age, because that's what joy does. Joy really does help us to take our life back from anything that might be having a hold of it. And so those are some of the other wonderful things that I'm absolutely proud of. Just helping people to increase their life frequency is what I'm here to do, to be a walking form of transformation.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk quickly about empowering women. So how do you define the role of women as leaders in households and communities?
When you ask, how do I define that? What do you mean?
Like, how do you define the role of women as leaders in household, like as leaders in their household and leaders in the community? Um, like I guess how would you like with them being leaders, right? How would you describe them being leaders in those aspects?
Okay. So in the African American community, I could speak to that community because I've worked a large part of my life with women in our community. I would say 70% of our households are led by women. Okay. And so whatever is happening inside of that woman, it's going to be projected out on her children and everything she touches, which is why it is so important for women to live with joy. Right. So, because all things that we deal with inside is going to come out, the good and the bad. But what happens is, particularly with you have a growing number of women that are in business now. As a matter of fact, in our community, you have the largest number of women who are starting businesses. At the end of the day, these are not anything like when I say 70% of our households are primarily led by women, I'm not necessarily bragging about that at all. I'm saying that's our reality, right? It's important that we teach that, women know how to take care of themselves because everything you touch is going to be impacted by it. If there's a spouse or a partner, he's going to be impacted by it. Okay. If you have children, they're going to be impacted by it. And because women are so powerful in our energy, what I'm oftentimes find is when we're going through our pain, we have been taught to be a strong, and this is some of the things that's been spoken to us, be a strong Black woman, hold it in, you got this, girl, and all of that. But what has happened over time, we are carrying so much chronic stress. And a lot of times, when you really unpack what chronic stress is, that's the root of cancers a lot of times. That's the root of a lot of these conditions, heart disease. That's a root of that. So what I like to do in my role of helping women lead, um, is really help them understand to stop protecting their pain, stop protecting, but process your pain so it won't be projected. Because when you're carrying that, it is going to be a toxin. It'll be used as a weapon against her through her own health, or it's going to be used as a weapon toward her children or her spouse. And that may come out through anger, that may come out through frustration. And even if, there's a health challenge, a health battle, how many households lose their moms or their wives at an early age because we weren't taking care of our soul. So I like to help, our women to become healthier, for the family. We need strong men and strong women, so I always, for men who don't mind working with Nurse Blue, I'm here for you. But at the end of the day, when you consider those numbers, those statistics I just gave you, Alex, yeah, if our women are leading and bleeding
Hmm.
at the same time, which many are, and we know how to lead and bleed and put on a weave and some lipstick and act like it's not happening, okay? um it's pretty troubling when you look at the statistics of how many of our women are dying from heart disease, cancer, and autoimmune deficiencies here in the
Hmm.
US and globally.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of that has to do from stress, from having to do everything by yourself. There's
Yeah.
just so many people that's what I mean, that's not being fathers like they should.
And don't even know. A lot of this stuff, like I said, we haven't been taught the truth. So people, as I mentioned before, the signs and symptoms are usually we suffering from lies and ignorance. And so the soul, that's why soul health is so powerful, because the truth is the only thing that's going to set you free. And everything I do can be backed by the word, because I want people to understand that healing is not the responsibility of the doctor or the nurse. The healing is actually our responsibility. Now, if someone is going through need a medical procedure, or I spoke of cancer a few times and being diagnosed, and they need to go to medical treatment. Yes, we thankfully have the services here available in the United States and throughout the world to support them. But when they go home from the hospital, that healing process is still in the hands of the client and the patient. And if you want to understand what soul health is all about, it's taking full responsibility for your health and well being and learning how to love your soul back to health. Self love is the most powerful healing force that we're not using.
I agree. I agree. So, I got about three questions for you left. One of them is, what is the significance of your blue philosophy?
Ooh, I think the blue philosophy is how we create heaven on earth. And I want people to start using it because I didn't come here to live in hell. And what I mean by that is, if you just lean into the blue, right? I think blue, if you believe in the Most High, as I do, I believe blue is God's favorite color. And the reason why I say that is, when you think about it, I live in Florida. About nearly 100 million people come to my state every year because they want to be close to some blue skies and some blue water. When you think about your favorite pair of blue jeans, why they your favorite? Because it's comfortable. It's blue it's a healing color, and it's a high vibrational color. And I oftentimes believe, and of course in the medical field you see blue all the time. So let's just say blue is the healing dose. But what what my acronym stands for, well, first and foremost, my name, Nurse Blue, came from my dad because his name was Purvis Spann, the blues man. He used to be a big blues musicologist, a DJ, right? And so when he passed, I dropped the S and kept the acronym Blue. But if we activate Blue, the power of Blue, where you build people, when you love people, when we decide to unite for real and empower people, that's heaven on earth, period. And if we use our tongue, if we were intentional about everyone we touch, we build, love, unite, and empower, irrespective of what they look like, how old they were, our complex past, our history. If all we did was build, love, unite, and empower, we would have Christmas, the feeling of Christmas every day. So if that's, and it's a healing formula that keeps on giving. It's the biggest gift we can give each other and we can give ourselves if we build, love, unite, and empower. So that's the power of the Blue.
So, what are some practical ways to integrate soul care into your daily life for like anybody that's watching? Like some small things that they could do.
Absolutely. Well, I would assume that, your audience is probably doing these things and not even realizing that that's a soul nutrition. So just like our body needs vitamins, just like, we need nutrition. Soul nutrition would be praying. If you actively pray, that's soul nutrition. Meditation is soul nutrition. When you're journaling, when you're listening to high vibrational music, and I say high vibrational music, and I'm intentional about that. I am a sound healer. I am a soulful sound healer, right? And so I'm serious about my music. And what I definitely know, I grew up listening to gospel. Well, my father was blues, gospel, R&B, soul, hip hop. When hip hop went bad, all of it. Okay. 40 years, because hip hop has been around, celebrated 50 years, I think it was last year. 40 years of hip hop. We have been listening to music that have great beats, but the lyrics have been destructive to our soul. Period. And we have taken it in over and over and over again. Now look at the health and well-being of our collective. Now outside of music, there are some other things, but music plays a big part, right? So be intentional about listening to great music that lifts you up. And come to an I Deserve Joy party. I host free parties introducing blue soul music on Clubhouse. So if they're a member of Clubhouse, I have a soul health and wellness club. They can come to the I Deserve Joy parties. I host blue soul parties. I host I Love Me self-love parties and soul massages. So get that experience and also surrounding yourself with good people. That's soul health by itself. If you got people in your life that's depositing good in you, that you feel good around, that means they're in alignment with your soul. But if you're around people that's always, taking away from you, saying some negative things and pretending like they joking or judging you, or you just feel weird with them, that means that your soul's saying, you know so like I said before, there are a lot of practical movies that you watch. Here's another thing: we love movies. As opposed to watching a whole bunch of murder, death, kill movies, which a lot of us are addicted to, start looking at movies that help you feel better about life, that teach you something, that expand you something. Great books are really great tools. So like I said, we're doing these things every now and then, but you need to become more intentional about making it a habit and consistently feeding your soul.
I would agree. All right, so last question. What are your future goals for spreading the message of soul health and joy?
Coming on here with Alex, but well, it really it is, getting the word out through wonderful podcasts, inviting people to come to the Soul Health and Wellness Club and it's really the home for the soul. And getting the word out there, introducing people to blue soul music. I mean, music is really, I believe, is here to save us. I really do believe the Most High created music as medicine for our souls. So introducing great high vibrational wellness parties and experiences, because I'm really good at it, is one of the ways. But and also, for people out there who you lead communities and groups, and you have the responsibilities of developing your team. I'm a speaker. So inviting me to come to events to to share what soul health is all about and natural ways to feed the audience or feed the family, the community. That's what I'm here for. Anyone can find me at soulhealthcommunity.com. All things Nurse Blue. Soulhealthcommunity.com. And everything I'm doing is there to serve you.
Right, I like it. I like it. So I want to take this time to tell you I appreciate you coming on the show today and talking about the importance of soul health and your journey, everything that you've dealt with in life and all your accomplishments and things like that. So I definitely appreciate you coming on.
I want to thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for having me, and happy 2025.
Yes. Yeah, no problem, no problem. So everybody that's watching, you all go to the description, get in contact with Nurse Blue and follow her on social media. Reach out to her if you need her assistance, things like that. But we appreciate you guys watching another episode of All in All with Alex, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.